For 2025, my word was transformation. And I decided for 2026 to go with Amplify. This episode is kind of about the bridge between the two, what I'm changing, what stuck, and why the things that I worked on in 2025 definitely deserve to take up more space in 2026. Hello, my beautiful entrepreneurs. My name is Tabitha Bear, and this is A Hot Mess Builds an Empire. I let you know at the beginning of every episode that I have absolutely no idea what it is that I'm doing, but I'm doing it with the energy of someone who is tripped and is making a career out of a fall. So, for the first time ever, I used a word to kind of make a theme of goals for 2025. I saw business friends doing it for years. I've seen non business friends doing it for years. And I guess I thought, like, why not? The worst that could happen is that I don't follow the word. And so I chose transformation. Now, I only built a couple of goals around transformation because I wasn't really sure if it would work for me. I wasn't really sure if I would achieve the goals, if creating a theme around a word for a whole year is something that I could mesh with really well. So, the first thing I wanted to do was transform my health. My health was in a really bad state, and part of that health journey was to lose weight. And I wanted to lose 100 pounds by the end of the year. And as of this morning, December 31st, I have officially lost 100 pounds, like to the pound. So, way to squeak it in there, Tabitha. But yes, as of today, I've lost 100 pounds since April. So I'm very, that's, it was very difficult and a long road, but that was something that I really wanted to do for myself. But in general, when it came to my health, I wanted to prioritize myself. I have a tendency to let my health take the back seat. Mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, like whatever health that looks like, right? I have a tendency to just like let it build up, let it take the back seat, not have any assistance whatsoever. So this year I also sought out a therapist, and I have been working on me. I've been doing the inner work and just trying to find myself to a much healthier landscape, right? And that has been really good. Um, this is also very interestingly why I took a week off from YouTube the last week is because I had surprise surgery 2 weeks ago now, and I wasn't healing right from it. So I gave myself time off from doing anything to heal. I really needed the rest. I really needed not to worry about creating content, creating videos, working on this offer that I have coming out soon, and I think it was just the right call because after like a day or two I noticed a difference in just my sleep. It was very heavy, very very long, and I'm not a very good sleeper. So that right there tells me that I needed to relax. I needed to let myself heal. So while I was really bummed about not posting daily on YouTube for the month of December like I had planned on doing, the right call to make was to let myself heal. And honestly, I would not have done that a year ago. So, growth. The next thing that I focused on with the transformation word was how I how I showed up for my business. So, I've been niching down and trying to stay small for as long as possible because that was always like the advice given to me, like, you want to niche down, you want to niche down, you want to niche down. And so I kept narrowing my focus more and more and more. And I just was like, no, that's too general. No, that's going out of my niche. And I decided to transform my mindset and just let myself dream big. Even if nothing happened with it, I wanted to see where my mind would take me. I wanted to see what grandiose visions that I had for my business. And I wanted to create plans and long term goals surrounding those visions. And while I opened up a huge can of worms and I dived into like everything possible, I've seen really good things come of it. And dabbling here and dabbling there and opening a Substack and, diving into a second podcast and kind of talking about storytelling more on my Instagram account. Like, there are things that I've learned that, like, okay, so this is super niche and like nobody's really following it, or I have something here, right? Like, I learned things and I wouldn't have learned about what was working, what wasn't working, what hits home more for people and what is very niche if I didn't just let things happen, right? So I wouldn't have done that if I didn't transform my mindset and just let the avalanche process happen, right? Like, you kick the snowball down the mountain and it just starts to gain momentum in whatever capacity that looks like. And most of that was just like learning opportunities and long-term goals for me. So even though that wasn't really like public information, I learned a lot this year about my own business, and I think that's really important. The next thing that I did was transformation related was changing my reading habits. So I'm a very indecisive reader. I'm usually reading like 5 or 6 books at a time because I can't decide what sort of genre I want to read or who I want to read from. And honestly, for the last like 2.5 years, I've done nothing but read women's history books. And that was kind of grueling because I did it for World Her Story and I was happy to do it. And I loved learning about these women, but a lot of those stories are very heavy. A lot of those stories didn't end well, or it was just when you try to incorporate very inclusive history into everything, it is not good history, right? The white man always comes out on top. And when you try to dive into these histories, like, you just come across femicide and genocide and people dying and people being tortured and like just these horrible things, right? And it's really heavy to carry that around all the time and find joy in that reading. So I told myself that this year, even though I would still read history books on the side, I would what I would do is I would put more intention into like my leisure reading, right? So this year I decided to read fantasy by Asian authors only. And my goal was to hit 20 books, but honestly, I'm not going to hit that number, but I'm okay with that because like what I've taken away from the stories that I have read this year has been fantastic. Like, such an inspiration to see mythos and culture collide in such a beautiful way in new narratives, new storytelling styles. And oh, it's just been really fulfilling this year. So I didn't hit my reading goal mostly because like once I hit the car accident at the beginning of December, I was just like, okay, like it was really hard for me to read. It was really hard for me to do a lot with the concussion. And even though I'm kind of getting back on track, it's still hard to read small print at a certain point. So I'm still kind of reading, but I'm not going to hit my goal by the end of the year. But I'm okay with that because just because I'm missing the number doesn't mean I missed the point. You know what I mean? Like, it's been really, really fulfilling this year. And I feel really good about what I read this year, even though it wasn't as much as I wanted to. And I started late. I did start in like April. I was like, oh, I'm going to read fantasy by Asian authors only in April. So that's my bad. I also started super late and I should have been more on top of that. But it is what it is. So why amplification, right? Or amplify. So I feel like I did a lot of private and inner work during 2025 with transformation. I feel like I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my business. I fulfilled myself in certain ways in terms of like taking care of my health, taking care of my reading habit, and kind of ensuring my brain had more support than what I had given it in years. And with everything that I've done this past year, it's been very foundational. And I feel like there's so much that I learned about what worked that I just need to amplify what worked, right? And let it be seen publicly. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not changing a lot from what I've done in 2025. I'm just amplifying what I've been doing and sharing more of it. So I just thought that Amplify was a really great way to transition from like a private sort of learning experience in year and sharing that, right? So, first things first, I want to put numbers where my intentions are. In November, I realized that I have never actually set a financial goal for myself for my business. Like, it's always just kind of been like, hopefully, I can make enough money this year to kind of throw at my subscription count, like, and the tools that I use and the processes that I use to create content and post it. Um, and that's not a really good goal, right? Like if I want this to be full time, I need to make revenue from it. I need to see like a better outcome from it. And just kind of going like, well, I hope I make back what I put in. That's not strategy, right? Like that's just it's a hope. So for this next year, my for 2026, my goal revenue or my revenue goal is to make $20,000. And some of you might be like, wow, that's a lot. Or some of you might be like, oh, it's nothing. But for me, it's obtainable, right? And but it has its challenges. I've never made $20,000 before from my business. And I think it's really important for me to put a number to it. If I could say I want to lose 100 pounds this year and do that because I put a number to it, then I think I can absolutely hit $20,000 next year because I'm putting a number to it and I'm going, here's the goal. How do we reach this goal? Right? So I think clarity changes your behavior. Instead of just saying, I hope that I make some money, I'm going, I will make $20,000. And I think there's a lot to be said about changing how that is worded. So I did do some math in the weight department. And if I continue to lose 5 pounds every month for the month of 2026, I will hit my goal weight by December. So my goal is to lose 5 pounds every month during the year of 2026. And that feels very doable. I did gain some weight back the last couple of weeks because I've been very sedentary because I've been healing. I had surgery. I had the car accident, right? Like it was hard for me to walk some days. So the fact that I've gained some weight is, it's not a big deal. It's just what happened for the month of December. But that tells me that, being sedentary obviously plays like a huge part in that. And to be more active and to make sure that I continue with my goal weight, I just need to be more active than I am right now. And I should be fine. I should be fine. So I wanted to make that digestible, but still keep my health somewhere in the foreground and not as an afterthought. I have done so much work this year to bring my health to a really good place that I can't let that slip away. Like just because I was like, no, this year I'm going to focus on my health doesn't mean that I'm suddenly going to like not focus on it ever again, right? So there's still a goal there for my health, but it's a little bit smaller and it's in more digestible clumps for each month. I loved reading with intention for 2025. I feel like that just brought out something in me, like in such a good capacity. Like it just made me a better reader. It made me more aware as a human being of like what exists in the storytelling world and the mythos world. Like I feel so good about what it is that I read this year that I want to make sure that I continue moving forward with this reading with intention thing. So the first thing I had on my mind was I wanted to read more books about business. And then the second thing I had on my mind was I've really been like hardcore into fantasy the last couple years. So I want to get back into my sci-fi roots. I was a big sci-fi reader years ago, and I definitely fell off the bandwagon with that. And so I decided that for 2026, I'm going to read 40 sci-fi books that are written by women only from around the world. So I did a lot of research and I found like 40 books from different authors, and they have to be more recent too because I've read a lot of old stuff. So it's from like, I think like 2018 and newer. So I found a really great list. I already had some books get delivered the other day. So I'm super ready to go for January. But every fourth book I read has to be a business book. So I think in total, I'll be reading like 53 or 54 books for 2026 is the goal. And again, that is broken down into monthly digestible moments. And I think I can do it, especially because I'm not working the first month and a half of 2026 just because of everything going on. I have the space to kind of like really gain momentum with what it is that I'm reading and kind of get like a lot of books under my belt so that this way it's a little easier once I go back to work. So, what I decided for myself is each month is going to have like sort of a monthly theme, focus points, and a mission basically. And these are going to help me amplify different parts of myself and my business. And most of the goals are pretty much business related, with the exception of the reading intention and the weight loss. Um, yeah, everything is pretty heavy business related, and I'm okay with that because I did a lot of like self focused goals this year. So to kind of take that inner work and, like I said, make it more public and make it more business related, like I'm really happy to do that. So, um, but yeah, I decided to break everything up into months because the thing is that like I have a tendency to get bored really easily. So I didn't want my sort of like ADHD brain getting bored with one goal after the first month of the year and then dropping it. So I decided to make 12 small goals that I could take out over the course of the year. And each goal has its own month, with the exception of the weight loss, with the exception of the revenue, and with the exception of the reading intentional goal list. So, what am I doing to kind of help myself steer this Amplify ship? Is I actually made a calendar for myself. So I'm going to show it off a little bit. It's nothing crazy. But yeah, I apologize for the backwards font because I'm mirrored. But I made this calendar for myself, and let's see if I can pull up what it looks like. So, one side has the dates, right? But the other side has, again, sorry that it's backwards, but the other has like, this one is Amplify Your Voice. The mission is to show up boldly online, on camera, and in your storytelling. My focus is to increase my presence on camera and in writing, share personal stories with intention, experiment with new storytelling tones, and build consistency without pressure. So that's for February. And then I have my weight loss goal. Um, I broke down the $20,000 over the course of 12 months. So for February, it's to earn $1,650. And then for February, also to read 3 sci-fi books and 1 business book. So I just created this calendar for myself. And, to give you an example of the missions that I'm using is like amplify my empire mindset, amplify your voice, amplify your community, amplify your offers, amplify your collaborations, amplify your learning, right? Like just each month is devoted to amplifying one specific thing, and it comes with a mission, it comes with focus points. And I think that was really brilliant on my part for myself. Now, if you want to do something similar and create a calendar for yourself, all I did was go to Canva, grabbed a template that I liked the font and the kind of the color scheme. I took out a lot of like there were like a lot of decorations on the part where I put like all the information. There were a lot of like decorations. I just took those out and I added text box and I just put everything in there and I printed one out and had it sent to myself. It was like $20. So that calendar is going to go right there on the wall so I see it, and it's just going to be fantastic for 2026 to try something new. I tried something new with the whole word theme thing for 2025 and that worked out really well for me. So I'm going to continue with what worked from that with this whole Amplify thing. And And I'm really excited about it. I've never been so excited for a word. So for 2025, like there were some really amazing things that happened in 2025, but there were also some really horrible parts too. So, like, especially the last month of 2025 it's just been a shit show. So, what's really important though is I am incredibly proud of myself and how I have shown up in 2025 and just kind of like how I've changed and how I've grown in such a different way than what it is that I've challenged myself in before. So, I'm really looking forward to 2026 and the amplification of everything. I think it's really important to look at it that transformation taught me what it is that I am capable of. And then the amplification is just kind of showing off what it is that I can do, right? And what I've really learned is to stop whispering. I'm so afraid of my own voice sometimes that I curl up and I'm like, "Oh, I just said something." But I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of not sharing what it is that I want to share with the world. And I just think that I've done so much work in 2025 that to ignore what it is that I can set up for myself for 2026 would just be very disappointing to myself. So I'm very much forward to 2026. And so let me know in the comments if you do the whole like word for the year thing. Like let me know what your word is. What are you working on for 2026? I know like resolutions are for some people and sometimes like the word resolution is a bit triggering for others, and that's totally okay. I don't like using the word resolution, but I think like having these minor goals every month for myself is going to be really helpful. And I can't wait to see what it is that I'm going to be doing. But I would love to know what it is that you plan on doing for 2026. So please let me know in the comments what it is that you are planning on for 2026, whether it's for your health, your business, reading goals, like whatever you have going on. Let me know. Okay. And I think we're good. I also hope you like the new setup. It was really annoying to get footage off my phone onto my computer, so I decided to stream directly into my computer this time. So Harriet, the microphone, is taking a little bit of a break for the OG microphone. And I think it worked out pretty well. So see you tomorrow.